I'm going to try and get this old snapper SR1028 riding lawnmower running again. So one of the first things we should deal with right off the bat was that this engine was locked up. But thank goodness it's nothing serious. Check out what I found. Well, what you can see here is that the little flywheel cover has come out here. And it's come out in several spots, right there and right there. But most importantly, if you look right here, you can actually see where it's binding up. So I have a big old screwdriver here, and I'm just going to kind of tuck that flywheel cover back down. Oh, yikes. Didn't want to bend it that much. Guess I'll have to fix that now. Oh. Anyways, I'm poking it back down where it belongs. Alright, so I screwed it up there, but at least it's not poking out above anymore. Now let's see if this is still locked up. Oh yeah. We're still catching though. Definitely going to have to deal with this fan cover. All right. Well, I think I'm going to have to take this whole cover off here. See what's going on under there. Alright, so now the rope won't go back in, so we do need to take this cover off. It's pretty easy. Just, I believe there's 3 or 4 bolts, and I'll use my 3/8 socket. Oh, I forgot about the bolts that hold on the dipstick. So yeah, there's 2 back here. There's another one. 2 up front, so there's a total of 4 plus the one that holds the dipstick on. I'll use a 1/4-inch socket to get that one off. Now hopefully we can just lift this thing off of here. That's how it's supposed to go anyways. Oops. Just rotate that dipstick out of the way. So we're hanging up on something here. It probably has to do with this fan that's all bent out of shape now. Or maybe I have to take off the starter cover here. Let me go ahead and do that. See if that helps. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay. So this model engine isn't just a pull start, it's also an electric start. So we can test out the engine without the pull start cover here working. But we should try and figure out what's going on with this. Definitely doesn't seem like it wants to rewind all the way. Could just need to be wound up, but we'll worry about that later. I think it would be a good idea to drain the gas tank at this point. You want to make sure that your little starter clutch is rotating freely in one direction and then locking up in the other. Yeah, I'm going to have to reshape this cover. We'll just take this off for now and see if we can get the electric start working so we're not having to pull and pull and pull on it to check it out, see if it works. So I believe these gas tanks just kind of lift out of here. Look at that. Talk about easy removal. It's just pinched kind of between this bracket here. So real easy to remove and drain. This is actually a little vent on top that you're supposed to open while you're riding. So we'll drain this out and figure out what to do next. Yeah, I don't know if you guys could see down in there, but definitely water and dirt in the gas, what I call pissy gas. And to mount the fuel tank back up, you simply pop it into place. Pretty easy. Alright, what do we do next? I do want to let this gas tank dry out completely. I think we should probably drain out the carburetor next. So let's move to this side. And from this side you can get a pretty good view of the float bowl, which is what I'm going to try and clean out first and then reinstall. And in this case I use a 7/16 socket to get it off. Now we're going to have a little bit of gas leak out of here. And this is what the bolt looks like that holds the carburetor float bowl on. You can see there's a fiber gasket on it, so don't lose that. If the float bowl doesn't come right off, just give it a tap and it will. And try not to disturb it too much because we want to take a look inside this float bowl just to see what's in there, so we can determine the condition of the rest of the carburetor. A lot of times just looking at your float bowl can tell you a lot about the rest of your carburetor and the problems it might have. Yeah, you can definitely see some sludge and whatnot down inside this carburetor. This towel might make it dirtier. That's all I had back here. I'm out in the junkyard. So you can see this float bowl, I mean, it needs to be cleaned a little more, but it's not in that bad of shape. We'll want to clean off those rust spots as best as possible. There is some pitting in there, as long as none of it has gone all the way through and it doesn't leak. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and reuse it. We can always replace it later if we have to. So if we look up here at the carburetor, you can see the float is the white thing there. And your pickup tubes are pretty filthy. And you can also see that the float bowl O-ring stayed in place. It wasn't leaking, so we'll just go ahead and reuse it. I am going to spray some carburetor cleaner on these pickup tubes because you can see some of that sludge is on there. And I'm going to be careful not to get the carburetor cleaner on the O-ring because that will cause it to swell up and fall off and we won't be able to use it. Chunk! Don't be a punk! Oh, I can hear he's having a contest with another rooster in the neighborhood. I'll shine a little light, see if that helps so you guys can see it. And I'm also going to want to spray up these tubes. Alright, I think it's looking pretty clean in there. Clean enough for testing purposes anyways. I'm going to spray some air in there now to make sure everything dries out and to get that carburetor cleaner off that O-ring. So we'll also check, make sure the float's working, and it is. I have a wire brush here. I'm going to do a little bit of scrubbing on this rust. So that's a little better. I think it'll work. You also want to make sure that your bolt threads is not all dirty. So let's go ahead and put things back into place, shall we? Getting this bolt to get started sometimes can be a pain in the rear. There we go. Yes. Tighten this baby back up, and we'll hook up the fuel line once the gas tank is dried out. Now would be a good time to replace the fuel filter, which it's just an inline fuel filter between the gas tank and the carburetor. So we're going to have to get this battery situation figured out so we can electric start this thing. It's like this cover just kind of pops off. Yikes, that was a big spider. I don't think that's the right style of battery for this, but apparently it was working. Let's go ahead and try to throw a charge on it and see if it'll charge up. You can see someone put wood blocks and foam in here as spacers. Alright, let's see if this battery will take a charge. So I don't think this battery is going to charge up, but check it out. I was able to turn on the ignition switch, and we're getting a little bit of action. So I think the solenoid's good, and the starter motor's good, and the ignition switch is good. Alright, let's replace this battery. 10mm. Chickens are going nuts today. Every once in a while I have to run over there and check on them to make sure it's not a hawk. I've chased a hawk out of here 4 times past year or two. Ain't no hawk gonna get my chooks. Yep. Probably a good idea to check out this air filter real quick. Make sure there's no mouse living in there. We'll get some water, and definitely it looks oiled up, so we need a new one. And it looks like we have a little bit of oil in there that we need to dry up. This thing may have been tipped over on its side at one time, who knows. Another good quick check to do right now would be to see if there's any water in the oil. So I'm just going to lift up this dipstick a little bit, and I don't see any white or brown foamy stuff in there, so no water got in there. That's a good sign. Well, as you can see, I added a fuel filter here and a shutoff valve. The gas tank's been dried out, and I think we're ready for fuel and a start test. Let's do this. So far so good. I don't see the carburetor leaking. This is a seat I found in my junkyard. I'm going to try to make it fit. It looks like on this model the choke is integrated with the throttle, so we'll just put it all the way to the choke position. Take that off of there. I also don't have an air filter for it right now. That's all right. Alright, well that's a pretty good test for now. Alright, so the new air filter came in, and that's the part number there. This is what it looks like. It goes on like that. Alright, so with the air filter on, we can at least try and tune the carburetor now. It's kind of hard to get to the air mixture screw. As you can see, it's up under there, so it's pretty hard to get to. Let's see how it runs with an air filter on there. So it sounds pretty good, but there's still a little bit of a stutter there where it kind of surges along, so I'm going to try and give it a little adjustment. So the screw is up under there, and I'm only going to turn it, not even a quarter turn in each direction to see which direction makes the engine run better, or if it doesn't help at all. Alright, so I turned it in, Probably not even a quarter of a turn. Let's see if that changed anything. That didn't change too much, so I'm going to go ahead and try to turn it to the left. Sounds pretty good to me. Not perfect, but I think it's going to mow the yard just fine. Alright, so I see what happened here. The reason why this piece just pulled right off was that it wasn't threaded on. So I don't know how that happened, but I'm going to have to take this apart and thread this component onto the shaft. You can see the threads there. And hopefully the threads on the inside here didn't get stripped out. So going back together here, you noticed how this just pulled right off. That's not supposed to do that. You can see the threads on here, and there's threads in here. So I have to screw this part back on. But it doesn't want to go because of the, I imagine, the stripped out threads in here. Wonder if I have that thread pitch in my tap and die set. You can see those threads are stripped, or at least cross-threaded. So I'm going to see if I have a tap that's that size so I can clean up these threads. And I need to get a wire brush to clean up these threads a little bit. I think they're alright. They don't appear to be stripped or anything, just a little rusty. So this is my old tap and die set. I bought it at a garage sale about 20 years ago from an old man who was retiring as a mechanic. And pretty much every size nut and bolt the tap and die for it is in this box. So, let's see. This is the little thread pitch gauge. I think these are all too fine, so you go to the other side here. You have some more coarse gauges. Looks too coarse. That was a 16. This is an 18. Let's see if that matches. It looks like the 18 is the pitch of these threads. So here we go. It's a 5/8 18. Or at least that's what I've come up with. Oh, it's too big for my tool here. Let's see. Alright, and I want to do it like this so the shavings don't go down inside. I think I'm going to have to disassemble this. Which isn't a big deal. You just got to lift this seal off of here. Screwdriver is a good tool to have. I wish I had one. Might be able to Yeah, there we go. Just pry it off. And be careful. Take off this seal. And then you can see you have your little loose ball bearings down in there. And this just pulls right off. There is a little, there is a shim, so don't lose that. So before I put this back together, after I thread it, I'll clean out all of this and also sand off the little ball bearings, make sure they're nice and smooth when they go back in. Something like a wire brush helps clean up a lot of this. But anyways, let's go ahead and see if we can thread this. Oops, wrong one. Let's see if we can thread this. It's aluminum, so it should thread pretty easily. I just want to make sure I get it straight. There, I think it's going in. Yep. Sure hope this is the right thread pitch, otherwise I'll be buying a new starter clutch. Alright. That should be good. And you can tell if these are worn out if this surface here, you will see a big pit in it. You can actually start to see how these are wearing out. See that little pit down there? And that one there. When they get really bad, the ball bearings won't even stay in place. They'll slide in from compartment to compartment. But this one still has some life left in it. So you can see these ball bearings are a little bit rusty. So I'm going to scuff them up with some fine grit sandpaper here and make them all shiny again. Not real easy to sand a ball bearing, but it can be done. It's already looking a ton better. So I couldn't find anything real definitive on how tight to torque the starter clutch here, but everything I found said about 65 pounds, so that's what we're going to do. There's that big old ugly washer. You can see we're nice and clean in there now. And it threads right on. Perfect. This is actually the official tool to tighten these things up. It's about a $10–15 tool. Set my torque wrench to 65. Alright, so I think what I'll do is I'll put a wrench on the bottom of the engine on the crankshaft pulley bolt. and hold the engine in place that way so I can crank this down. It's tempting just to stick something into the fins and try to hold it that way, but don't do that. Trust me, you will break your fins. Okay, so I figured out how to do this. If I put the gear shift in this position, I can get to the bottom pulley and hold it with a wrench. So I've got my 5/8 socket. Got it. Finally. Jeez Louise. Don't forget your shim. And they say 1 drop of synthetic lubricant on there. That'll work. Oops, that's a little much actually. You want to keep it dry in here so the bearings can float around freely. Basically, you just want 1 drop of synthetic lubricant on the shaft here before you assemble it. At least that's what the manual says to do. I'm also going to clean up this piece a little bit. I think that's good enough. And one by one we drop in the, what is there, 6 of these things? And this cover just goes back on, presses into place. Sometimes you have to kind of hammer it down. Spins freely in one direction and binds up in the other. That's what you want. I'm going to put 1 drop of lubricant in that hole. It's a little more than a drop, but that'll be all right. Now the screen can go back on. Hopefully it won't cause any problems anymore. I think I still need to do a little bit of work on this screen to tuck it down into this plastic piece. Alright, let's put this back together. But what we need to deal with now is tightening up this spring. As you can see, it doesn't retract all the way. So the way I will do this, see these little tabs that are bent over? Those are the only things that hold this pulley in place. I'm going to bend those tabs up a little bit, just enough so I can sneak the rope by. I'll show you what I mean. The first thing you want to do is completely pull the rope out all the way. And when you have the rope out all the way, you hold the pulley in place, and you're going to want to grab the rope right there. So you just pull some of this rope through, just about that much, and then we're going to bend these tabs up a little bit. You can use anything to do that. So just about that far. I don't know if you can see that. Oops. Don't want to let go of that pulley. Alright, so now that I have these tabs bent up a little bit, I'm going to continue, and I have the rope pulled in. I want to continue to wind it to make the spring a little bit tighter. And you basically just work the rope around like this as you're winding it tight. Keep a tight grip on the pulley so you don't let go of it. Alright, so you can see we just wound it one time. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get another wind out of it and make sure it's good and tight when it retracts. Looks like getting it by that part's proven to be the most difficult. There we go. Then you can just pull this out. Bend these tabs back down a little bit here. Let's let this thing wind up. As you can see, it pulls all the way in. And the key is when you bend these tabs over, you just don't want to bend them down so much that it pinches this pulley so it can't move. Alright, we're good to go back on. So I've bent this screen back into shape the best I could and actually trimmed off some of it so it wouldn't snag up on the cover here like it did before. Looks like this muffler bracket needs a little work. Looks like we're going to have to do some bending around here. Let's get it the best we can for now. Alright, let me get my tools. So I think I'm going to get a washer and put it under this one for now. Just a quick fix for this bracket until I have time to weld it. So this guy, you want to push it down when you're tightening it up. Just this one screw that holds it in place, believe it or not. Don't over tighten it. I know you guys love it when I say that. So let's go ahead and put on the starter cover as well. I sprayed a little bit of WD-40 up into this starter, up under this, so hopefully that helps. These are basically just sheet metal screws, so I think this thing's back together and ready for a real test drive. So before I take this thing for a test drive, what I'm going to do is make sure that the blade is not locked up. So it's free, so that's good. Transmission seems to work because we were able to put it in neutral, and when we put it in gear it won't roll, so I think we're ready for a test drive. And the adjustment screw is real kind of hard to get to. That's it there. Alright, let's see if this thing moves. I think I'm going to save installing this seat for another video. I think I'm just going to go ahead and test it out without a seat on here. Why not? I'm anxious to drive this thing.